Hello and welcome. Today will be all about arpeggios. The word arpeggio comes from the Italian word arpa. Apologies for butchering the pronunciation, but it means harp. And it describes the way to play a chord when you don't play the notes of the chord at the same time, but after each other, often in an upwards or downwards movement, as you would on a harp. This can be a nice way to play chord progressions, and on the handpan it's often the only way you can play a chord, because unfortunately we only have our two hands and cannot reach all the tone fields at the same time. Later in the video you will see that arpeggios don't always have a classical vibe. They can also be the base for groovy and interesting patterns. Let's get started.
I'm playing an instrument tuned to D minor. The scale is often also referred to as Kurd. On this instrument, tone fields 1, 3 and 5 create an A minor chord. It has the notes A, C and E. If you have an instrument with a different scale, don't worry. Just pick 3 notes that sound nice together and that are easily accessible for your hands. If you can, play the lower 2 notes with your right hand and the highest note with your left, just as I do in this example. Let's start by playing these 3 notes upwards, lowest to highest. We can also go downwards. Or we can go up and then come back down. This creates a different rhythm. These are the most obvious ways you can play a 3-note arpeggio. Now let's check them out in a musical sequence. We will play 3 chords. 1, 3, 6, 3, 5, 7, and 2, 4, 8.
Okay, these arpeggios with a simple upwards and downwards movement sound pretty nice, especially when combined with dynamics. Also, you don't have to play them with a strict timing. In classical music, for example, the timing can be very flexible. It's not always attached to a pulse. So you can really play slower and faster, softer and louder with the music, which can create a very nice flow. Now let's check out a more involved option. We will stick to the same harmony sequence, but change the pattern to a more groovy approach. The pattern goes. Let's go back to our chord progression and add some transition notes. Already we have a sweet little piece of music. I will mark the transition notes in red so you can easily spot them. They all fit into the pattern and are played with the left hand. If you really want to go into details, play those notes a little louder than the rest. That way you can really make the melody come out, which makes the overall sequence more musical. Next, let's check out some chords that have 4 notes. This will be more of an ergonomical challenge to play. Not only does it sound nice, it's also a really good technical exercise.
The first chord will be 1, 3, 6, 8. We play the lower two notes with the right hand and the upper two notes with the left. If you have practiced double stroke techniques, it will make it much easier to play this pattern in higher speed. But it can also be done with single strokes. It just takes a bit more effort and you won't be able to play quite as fast. Don't forget, you can use the speed function of the video player
to slow the video down at any point.
Also for these chords, let's check out a more groovy pattern. I will demonstrate it slowly. Now back to the chord progression. As you can see, arpeggios work really well for playing chord progressions. This can also be handy in an ensemble context, when you have another person playing a melody, be it on a handpan or any other instrument. Let's check out how that can sound. In the next example, we have two handpan players, accompanied by a bass and some percussion.
Okay, these were a few ways you can play arpeggios. Of course, there are many more options. If you want to go deeper into playing chord progressions, it's well worth mapping out the scale of your instrument to check all the chords you have available. For example, on this instrument with Kurd 9 scale, I have these ones.
D minor, A minor, B flat major, C major, let's squeeze in another D minor, E diminished, F major, G minor, and we finish with D minor again.
If you have a background in music theory, this process will be easier for you, but you can also do this by trial and error without any prior knowledge. And it can be a lot of fun. Next week will be all about slaps and backbeats, and we will revisit some of the patterns from today to spice them up some more. Have a good practice and see you next week.